we're going to be workshopping the pike position of handstand. So pike can be done with bent knees or straight knees or a combination of both. We're going to work through the bent knee variation first and then move up to the straight leg variation, which I feel is a little harder. So I recommend that you warm up before this class. Plank pose, down dog, some vinyasas will be really good for warming up our pushing muscles as well as the wrists. We also want to make sure that the core is warm and firm because it's going to be doing a lot of heavy lifting in our inversions. So let's come into a downward facing dog position to start. Spread your fingers wide and feel for a gripping of the fingertips. So your palms are mostly flat with a little lift in the center. And this is going to make sure that the hands are engaged. So our fingertips are going to be our brakes here. So it's very important that we can engage the fingertips, engage the whole hand. Hug your arm bones in, take your gaze in between your thumbs, come up high on the toes, and then draw the belly in. Good, so from here we're going to bend the knees so that we can jump. And the aim is to jump the hips over the wrists. So shoulders over wrists, hips over shoulders. And maybe you can get some hang time here. Drawing the heels in towards the butt. So this is a really good one to practice with a wall or with a partner so that you can just learn the positioning of the hips over the hands and kind of get over the fear of going too far. Remember that your fingertips are your brakes. And so if you feel like you've jumped too far, you may just need to grip the mat a little more to prevent yourself from going all the way over. So another thing that is important when jumping into pike is the position of your pelvis. So the anterior tilt of the pelvis is going to take the tailbone back, go into the banana back position. Now, this is not what we want to do in regular handstand or regular pike. There are some yoga poses that lean into that, things like hollow back position, for instance. But for learning the handstand, the proper alignment is going to be the posterior tilt, where the tailbone tucks under and the top limb of the pelvis goes back. So I want you to find that action here. And notice what happens with the core with that posterior tilt. It has to work and the ribs draw down. So now try the bent knee, the frog hops again, with that in mind. Planting the hands, taking the gaze down, keeping your gaze firmly in one spot. Come up high on the toes. Point your tailbone down. Press the upper rim of your pelvis back. Draw your ribcage in, and then begin to jump. So maybe that felt a little different to you. Easier to hold the cannonball pike, or the bent knee pike, when you have the posterior tilt down. So if your core is weak, or if this motion is just new to you, you may just practice that. So in any yoga pose, you can think about the posterior tilt to get those neural pathways firing so that it becomes habit when you start going into these more advanced inversions. So you basically need the bent knee pike before you can go into the straight leg pike. If you're still working on the bent knee pike, you're welcome to try. You know that it's going to be a little harder to jump the hips over the hands with your legs straight, just because there's more mass holding you back from getting to that position. So again, the posterior tilt of the pelvis will be really important here and helping to get the weight moving forward. Okay. So we set up the same way. Gaze in between the hands, spreading fingers wide, coming up high on the toes. I like a little shorter down dog here, so I don't have to jump as far. Good. Pull the belly in, point the tailbone back towards your heels, the rib cage drawn down, and then begin to jump hips over hands, just the same way except this time. And try to keep the legs straight. Okay, so you can see that's much harder to jump and find the hang time when your legs are straight. If you've ever seen people jump forward through the vinyasa from down dog 2 back to the standing at the top of the mat, this is the position that helps them get there. You need that hang time with your hips over your shoulders so that you can slowly bring your feet down to meet your hands at the top of the mat. Okay, so let's try that a few times. Imagine we want hang time and then floating the feet in between the hands. So find your pelvis, find your core. And try it out. Good. All right, I'll meet you at the top of the mat. We'll halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Let's hang here for a moment. Come down to sit. So both of these entrances are designed for handstand. Obviously, you can do them on their own, and it can be really fun to practice. I personally think holding the 90-90 with a straight leg pike is much harder than holding a handstand. But both the bent knee pike and the straight leg pike are a great way to practice coming up into handstand and finding the core activation that's necessary to get there. Remember, when you're in your handstand, to maintain the posterior tilt of the pelvis, pressing down into the hands, pushing through the shoulders. All right, let's give that a few tries. Bent knee or straight leg pike, either way. I know you're all probably really tired right now if you're anything like me. So I will let you try that on your own. If you need help holding the full handstand position, I have a full tutorial on my channel about that. Feel free to check that out. It would be a very logical next step from this video. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel for more yoga videos, and leave me a comment if there's anything that you would like to see more. I'll see you next time. Namaste.